So we're live now. Good, 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 good. I am big now. Yes. Yes. So, Sup Shredders. My name is Logan, aka Spiderhands. And welcome to an SP Livestreams where today we're finishing all of the reviews I didn't do yesterday. And if we switch over to here, yeah, I suppose we've got until, we've got 5 minutes. We've got another 5 minutes before I'm supposed to start this live stream. Just in case the people who put through checks yesterday want to come in today. I just want to sort of talk about like next week. So it's not bad news. It's just different news. So I really want to get back into doing electronic music production. And one of the ways to sort of incentivize myself to do that, at least until I get a few things done with the house so that I can record acoustic drums, is to kind of do electronic music production streams on Sundays. For me to be Sundays, for you guys it'd be Saturdays. But what I realized is that I don't know if there's people that want help specifically with making music in Reaper, because Reaper DIW is awesome. You can come do that. It'd be great. I think we'd have a good time. So yeah, I think we'll definitely do that. I think that'd be a fun thing for us to have a go at. I can't guarantee that'll be for everyone. Like in terms of like, how do I say this? In terms of the accessibility of it, primarily, for example, because with Reaper, while the software is free to trial, some of the plugins I might be using are not. So, it might not be for everyone. But the thing to remember is that when you have any sort of digital audio workstation, it's not going to necessarily be affordable at all, but then it could be really good. And I find that Reaper is kind of the best of both worlds, because Reaper, a license is like 60 USD for a personal or like 225 for a commercial. Even though there's an unlimited demo with no limitations on its use, and clearly I'm not sponsored by them, seeing as I pay for the damn licenses. It's just such cool software regardless. And I think that if we can maybe even make some music using some free plugins, just so that it's easier for people who want to get involved with it, I thought that could be really cool. So that's probably what I'll do next weekend. I'm just trying to do sort of like more YouTube stuff, but in a way where it might just seeing what people are into. But in a way that also is not done where it's like, hey, I exclusively do things for other people. Because my limited experience of YouTube is that you either commit to the bit of specifically only doing stuff that other people might be interested in, which is completely fair go. There's a lot of channels which create content for people. Or if you're making stuff, you've just got to kind of show yourself while providing something for people to be interested in. So that'll be next Sunday anyways, I think. But yeah, today, anyways, is going through these 6 tracks. And we've got 6, right? There's 7. So there's a few for us to go through today, but I've committed to going through all the songs. I have made some changes. For example, I do have a coffee. And it's not a very strong coffee. It's just like an afternoon coffee, your instant stuff. I have my coffee machine for the mornings. And so my goal effectively is to get through these 7 tracks, review them, and then I plan on going for a walk and then doing more reviews, because I have more reviews to do later on today, and then chilling. So yeah, I'm going to give it another minute, and then we will be good to go. I don't think there's anything else to talk about. But yeah, it was cool to have more tracks yesterday. And I think as I get back into practice with these, it'll get easier for me to sort of get a bit more stamina, Because it might not seem like it's a lot to talk about tracks and break them down. And to be fair, it's not like I work in a coal mine, but like I suppose when you end a sentence with but, you're then allowing what you previously said. Separate clause. There's still a bit involved in talking about it, as opposed to just saying it's good. But anyway, look, we're going to get into it. Anyways, so just so people can see it in chat if they watch the video. Thanks for your request. So this is Chun Chun's request of Air Supply with All Outta Love. Let's get into it. I don't think I've heard this before, but it kind of seems familiar to me. This is live, right? Just because I've gone live without... Nope, it is. Cool, cool.
I'm lying alone with my head on the phone, thinking of you till it hurts. I know you hurt too, but what else can we do? Tormented and torn apart. I wish I could carry your smile in my heart for times when my life seems so low.
Hi LCC85, how you doing? Welcome to the live stream.
What tomorrow could bring when today doesn't really know. Doesn't really know. I'm all out of love. I'm so lost without you. I know you were right, believing for so long. I'm all out of love. What am I without you? I can't be too late to say that I was so wrong.
Are they different vocalists or are they the same vocalist?
I want you to come back and carry me home, away from these long, lonely nights. I'm reaching for you. Are you feeling it too? Does the feeling seem oh so right? And what would you say if I called on you now, said that I can't hold on? There's no easy way. It gets harder each day. Please love me or I'll be gone. I'll be gone.
I love the strings and how they flourish there.
Out of love, I'm so lost without you. I know you were right, believing for so long. I'm all out of love. What am I without you? I can't be too late to say that I was so wrong.
Some transition with those arpeggios there.
What are you thinking of? What are you thinking of? I'm all out of love.
Such drama.
I'm so lost without you. I know you were right, believing for so long. I'm all out of love. What am I without you? I can't be too late. I know I was so wrong. I'm all out of love. I'm so lost without you. I know you were right, believing for so long. I'm all out of love. What am I without you? I can't be too late. I know I was so wrong. I'm all out of love. I'm so lost without you. I know
Great inclusion of the organ there for a bit of extra kind of texture there.
what am I without you? I can't be too late to say that I was so
Tremendous. Tremendous piece. Very soulful and very wholesome. That was Chun Chun's pick from yesterday of Air Supply with All Outta Love. I'm lying alone with my head on the phone, thinking of you till it hurts. I know you're hurt too, but what else can we do? So it seems like these are two people that just gotten separated with the dissolution of their relationship, and they're just struggling with that lack of love and trying to find purpose and meaning. They're wondering what each other is thinking, or at least this is the male's perspective there, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Or the different voicings could be different people within the relationship, I'm not sure. But either way, I just love kind of how wholesome it is. It's a nice start to proceedings, you know. Thank you, by the way, to LCC85. I'm pretty sure different vocals. It's good to know. It's good to know. I was kind of thinking they had a different sort of texture timbre to their vocals, so that makes a lot of sense. The actual vocal performance itself was really effective in the sense that, like, it was well performed, you know, really solid head and chest voice, very comfortable within their vocal range. There was an authentic, genuine, sincere tone to the way they sung. And it just sounded like they were trying to have more of a conversation with the listener as opposed to shoving the thoughts process down their throat. It did kind of sound like they were more calling out in those chorus sections, which added a sort of further dramatic intensity to the piece that I thought was appropriate considering the situation. And there's a nice amount of sort of dynamic range, like not literal in terms of like big variations in loudness, but it's more that like the intensity is much lesser and those quieter guitar parts there with the fingerstyle. And I think that suits a more sort of intimate tone with the vocals there. But honestly, I just feel like the vocal tech is proficient and the actual expression itself seems very appropriate for the subject matter across the board. I think a big highlight for me personally is the extra instrumental layering of things. When you've got the guitar accompany there, which has this wonderful fingerstyle and arpeggiating going on there, working with major and minor chords as well, sort of twists and turns for the different sections as well. And the piano is like a gentle accompaniment as well. It works within a simpler range of the frequency spectrum there, and you're kind of left feeling very kind of warm and sort of fuzzy because of it. And the strings as well are just a wonderful sort of like way to smooth the piece out and to make it kind of almost dreamlike, I suppose, add a bit of sort of romanticism in there. That seems appropriate considering what we're talking about. It's a very soft, I'm pretty sure using brushes on the kit if I'm not mistaken. There's a very soft tone to the percussion there. Nothing's too prominent. It could also be the recording style. This kind of balladesque format with the vocal style combined with the kind of earthiness of the bass, you know, like centralizing things in the low end, it's just very grounded, and it has again that kind of dreaminess with the reverb towers and stuff. Like, when was this released? So this was released in the 80s off of the Lost in Love album. The tone of it, the reverb towers, the production is symbolic of the time. It's like it's absolutely 80s. And there's kind of sort of repeaters on the guitar tones as well, the guitar leads there that kind of bounce and ponder off into the mix there, and it almost seemed like they're kind of stagnant in a weird way, despite the pull of the strings. That ritardando here, where the strings slow down, that big crescendo is very dramatic, and I think in a live situation that'd probably have a lot more magic to it than a how do I say this? Than the studio recording. I feel like the studio recording is a little bit squeezed. Like they're trying a little bit too hard to try and make it sort of smooth from a listener's perspective. But like ultimately, still pleasant to listen to. There's nice articulation and variety with the key lines as we just heard then. But genuinely, the vocals are the focal point. It's just the instruments are creating an ether that's nice and sort of sophisticated and regardless of whether we roll with sort of majors or minors. The crescendo reminds me of Simon and Garfunkel. I agree with that, absolutely. For sure, 100%. The kind of dun 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 dun, those sort of tom fills as well. The articulation there is splendid. And that's the oomph I was kind of hoping for initially with the piece. I liked that there was that kind of pace to it kept there, but that we weren't too intense with it. But that kind of adds a more sort of humanistic kind of element when you do have that slow down there, that dramatic kind of pause before that final release. Again, I'm not sure if the dynamic range of the production allows for that much of affectation to it. That's more of a subjective thing than anything else. But ultimately, I feel it's a really sort of solid instrumental performance that makes the most out of the various sort of key, bass, guitar, drum, and string layers. The vocals seg neatly into it. They niche nicely, thematically. Really well rounded. It's more, again, trying to create a sort of dreamy expanse, which is well supported by, again, the way the strings sound, the reverb tails and the vocals and the drums, etc. It's almost sort of kind of wistful and introspective. And I think that a lot of the extensions of complexity are added by the multiple elements kind of going on top of each other. Yeah, sup, Jacob. Sup, Jacob. Yeah, man. So this is. Hi, Jacob. There's a part 2 because I said yesterday I kind of ran out of steam yesterday and I didn't want to half-ass the reviews. So I've come back today armed with coffee to do these remaining tracks. They're not always going to be a part 2. It's just yesterday I just realized I was a little bit tired and I just wanted to do it properly. You know, I want these live streams to be good. So no half-assing. Yeah. So yeah, I think Jacob, your track is here, Tyler the Creator. So we will get through that as well. We'll get through the rest of the tracks in this. And I'm gonna try again be more sort of onto it today. So yeah, studio production wise, I think it was really well sort of produced. Apart from the dynamic range, which I have an issue with primarily because I wish that some parts had a bit more kind of room to breathe, or room to kind of pulse. But it was just the style of the time, I think. And in the 80s, we're still figuring a lot of the kind of core production decisions that we kind of take for granted nowadays. I nonetheless think that the vast majority of this was really well handled. The vocals, guitar, bass, piano, strings, etc., they're all nicely sort of rounded in the mix. And I've got absolutely, it sounds commercial grade. And I think that, again, they could just clearly sing, so they didn't need any help in post. So ultimately, just really splendid track at 4 minutes. Great use of time. Thank you to Chuncheon for putting this track through, for Air Supply, titled All Out of Love. Awesome stuff. And then I think we have Weber 1128 with the next track. Now what I need to do is remember to put this guy into the playlist, which again is being added to. Friendly reminder to anyone watching that we are putting all the songs from these fan requests into this playlist so that if you want to go check through your tracks, you can do it. There is literally 2 days worth of music in this playlist now, so that should be enough to get you through a weekend. But yeah, we've got One Day from Gary Moore, so let's do it. This is Weber 1128's request. Let's do it. Oh. Such a fizzy guitar tone, though.
I've seen that look somewhere before. Your sorrow's like an open door. You've been this way for much too long. Somebody must have done you wrong.
Oh, that panning's really interesting for the guitar on the left.
The sun will shine on you. Turn all your tears to laughter. One day your dreams may all come true. One day the sun will shine on you.
I don't know if I like that guitar tone. I know this is potentially controversial because I know Gary Moore is a beloved guitarist, but like, it's just a bit thin for me. It's a little bit kind of like too sizzly. But then I also think maybe there's just distinctive of the time, of the production quality of it. It's not that it's poorly produced either. I assume it was a deliberate decision on the part of Gary Moore here. But it's distinct, I suppose, at the same time.
I've seen that look so many times. I know the sadness in your eyes. Your life feels like a wishing well. Where it goes, only time will tell.
The vocals are scintillating though.
One day the sun will shine on you. Turn all your tears to laughter. One day your dreams may all come true. One day
Oh, so tasteful though.
Shine on
So tasteful.
you. Turn all your tears to laughter. One day your dreams may all come true. One day the sun will shine on you. One day the sun will shine on you.
And then the fade out at the end. Nice. To be honest, I think it grew on me over time. I do like their guitar tone now. This song is such a big hit. I hear it all the time on radios. It does. I think Gary Moore is well regarded. They're a sensational guitar player, very sort of blues scale oriented there. But I think it was when was this released? It was released in 1994, 1982 to 1994. To be fair, I think this is Ballads and Blues 1982 to 1994. So it's a compilation of elements. I can hear the 80s in there. Yeah, so I think that the actual track itself, because this is Weber 1128's request to One Day by Gary Moore. This track appears to be about someone wishing another well who's just gone through such suffering, and they're letting them know, hey, I know things are terrible right now, but I think they will improve soon, and I wish you all the best when in that direction. I think that's a really beautiful concept. I like that we're being so earnest and honest and genuine there. Because there was no need whatsoever to make a song like this at all. Often, and also I think that it's kind of interesting because the way that it's written and sung and performed is almost too empathetic in its sense. Like, it surprises me that we're going for the minor leaning throughout this track. From the vocal performance, it sounds incredibly sad, but then I think if you try to make something effervescent and bright and charming, you're maybe kind of misconstruing the situation that the person is in the first place, where they seem to be having such difficulty. I think the last thing that people need a lot of the time when they're upset is someone coming in all chirpy and cheery and being like just too much optimism, too much charm. It's almost like Gary Moore with their vocal performance, which is incredibly adept. They're very comfortable in the head and chest voice. They've got like little vibrato passages and legato parts there. They're very comfortable on a microphone and polished, and they hit the notes cleanly. No notes out of place there. But it's also expression is very kind of wistful and mature, and it kind of indicates that he understands what they're going through. And I think when people talk about a guitar singing the blues, this is kind of one of those situations where it appears to be very kind of like accurate. Like, not only does Gary Moore sing incredibly well and express themselves in the way that I feel is appropriate for the subject matter, it's also the case where we have the structure of this piece, and it's so kind of oriented around the kind of trade-off between the guitar and the vocals that you're kind of putting it 50-50 between the feelings expressed by the strings and then sort of Gary's literal words. And if we go right to the start, we have most of the key elements there at the beginning there. We have our kind of chorusy or rotary kind of like arpeggiated guitar riffs there with some interesting major minors and occasional parallels with an harmony. You have the bass forming a nice ground bed for everything underneath there and being very supportive of the bass notes of the guitars. You have the drums playing that kind of eighth note groove there with a mixture of sort of like, is it rides? It is rides and kicks and snares and crash, and I think that's just a nice sort of almost kind of jazzy kind of influence that meters out some of the extensions really nicely. And then you've got again that fizzy lead guitar on top, which plays that sort of main sort of lead. And then I think part of why the guitar sounds like that is to be Gary Moore's tone, because it is very distinct. And there's this inherent romanticism to the way that it's performed. It's very tasteful. These bends and little hammer-on pull-off parts there and the slides there evoke a lot of feeling, and I just think that it's additive. We're trying to provide this extra sort of character to the piece that gives it a lot of, like, it just gives the guitar purpose. It's not just playing for the sake of saying, hey, we can play some notes. And we have these different verses and choruses, and then we of course we have the guitar kind of coming on other parts as well, and we have an extended solo section after the build up and the interlude, and you know it takes its time to shine. But something I appreciate about the guitar solo, even though it's a bit more articulate and kind of zazzy, it also only comes in for a certain amount of time. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and it still gives credence or lends credence to the main point of the song, which is about the messaging that Gary Moore is putting forward. It fills the need that singles have to be able to sort of carry a story whilst being in a palatable format, and it still manages to incorporate a lot of really cool sort of bluesy ideas and jazzy phrasings on the guitar that add a separate voicing to Gary's, but like elevate it. And there's these unexpected notes that kind of go in a different direction of what you might be expecting, but it's nonetheless incredibly, it's nice to listen to because it's unpredictable, but not in the way which is discordant or even like superfluous. And I think the fade out at the end, just structurally, just allowing the story to continue, is almost inferring that Gary Moore is going to continue to wish that the sun will shine on you, you know, even though, again, the thematically, the minor leaning is obvious here. It's such a core part of the process. I think it's simply because Gary Moore is trying to be empathetic here, as opposed to trying to sort of bring the person up. The minor leaning with things is saying, hey, look, I'm sad for you too. I just hope that things improve at some point. So ultimately, it's full of expression. It's full of purpose. Things are well connected. There's no sort of unnecessary sort of decisions made here. It's a very tight instrumental performance without note out of place. And I've enjoyed hearing it. I think that Gary Moore is awesome, and I'm really thankful that Weber recommended this, because I haven't listened to a lot of Gary Moore, if I'm honest, but I've heard a lot of really positive things about him over the years, and it makes me want to maybe review some of his stuff at some point in my own time. The studio production, really well processed. The guitars, bass, drums, sort of like vocal elements there, and anything else I mix simmer in the ether and are just really well behaved. There's no weird resonant frequencies. The music surrounds you in the headphones. I think there's also, if I'm not mistaken, what I'll say about the studio production is that it kind of spreads. It spreads itself out in the stereo field, and there's some takes that are on maybe this side or on that side, if I'm not mistaken. And what's really neat about that is that it kind of pulls you away one way or the other. I could be confusing it with the previous track, but no, I think I'm confusing it with the previous one. But like, yeah, honestly, there's great sound design there. And again, I think that I've now gotten used to the guitar tone, and it's just needed to be EQ'd and sort of mixed like that in order for it to maintain its presence and not be overproduced or too dominant. Yeah, it's a side piece. It's part of the ether, and so there's dynamic range, automation of the volume at the end for the fade out's just really cool. It's nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression limiting's handled. Just a really professional commercial grade production. Fantastic song, and thank you to Weber for putting that forward. Great music, man. Great music. The next one is from G. Harry, 1988, and this is Van Morrison with Beside You. What do we got? Oh, now that's fascinating.
Little Jim is gone away out on the back street.
I'm not sure if I'm a massive fan of the production.
To the falling rain, right on time, right on time. That's why I broke an arrow with his finger down the road so dark and narrow in the evening. Just before the Sunday's six bell chime, six bells chime. You know the doctor barking. Way down the damn studded highway where you wander.
Sorry to pause. Is Van Morrison stuff mostly like this? Or is it mostly like Brown Eyed Girl? Because I am enjoying this. I'm just not. It's very different to Brown Eyed Girl. I just don't know how to place Van Morrison as a musician. This is so different. And I know yesterday was all metal. I like my metal. I like this too, though. I'm glad you're enjoying it, though. I'm glad you're finding it pleasant.
And you roam from your retreat and view. Way over on the railroad. Tomorrow all the tipping tracks will unload together. Every scrapbook stuck with glue, and I'll stand beside you. Beside you, child.
Wonderful phrasing with legato there.
Never wonder why at all. No, 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 no. To never wonder why at all. To never wonder why it's gotta be. It has to be.
Is that guitar in tune, though?
Way across the country with a hillside mountain glide. The dynamo of your smile caressed the barefoot virgin child to wander. Past your window with the lantern lit. You held it in the doorway and you kissed against the pointed idle breeze. Said your time was open, go well on your merry way. Past the brazen footlets of the silent seas, eh? You breathe in, you breathe out, you breathe in, you breathe out, you breathe in, you breathe out, you breathe in, you breathe out. And your head on the high flying cloud, wrapped up in your magic shroud as ecstasy surrounds you. This time it's found you. You turn around, you turn around, you turn around, you turn around, and I'm beside you, beside you. Oh, darling, to never wonder why at all. No, 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 no. To never
It's so
wonder
relaxing,
why
isn't
at
it?
all.
So soothing.
To never wonder why it's gotta be. It has to be, and I'm beside you. Beside you. Oh, child. To never wonder why at all. I'm beside you, beside you, beside you, beside you. Oh, child.
And that is 5 minutes, as we have the 5-minute rule on these live streams. Sup G Harry 1988. If you listen to this album, the sound transports you to another realm. I imagine it would. This sounds almost sort of psychedelic, and I mean that in the sense that it seems like an otherworldly experience if you listen through it from start till finish in context. When was this? 1968. So I want to ask you, G Harry, since you're here, is this what most of Van Morrison's music is like, or is it mostly Brown Eyed Girl? Because I think the mistake I made with Van Morrison was listening to Brown Eyed Girl and not going further. I like it, but it's cool to just hear something completely different. You know what I mean? But thank you for your request of this track, Beside You by Van Morrison. I think that this song is, I mean, the lyrics are so pretty. Just before the Sunday six bells chime and all the dogs are barking way down the diamond-studded highway where you wander and you roam from your treated view way over on the railroad. He's so articulate, isn't he? Tomorrow all the tipping trucks will unload together, every scrapbook stuck with glue. Way across the country where the hillside mountains glide, the dynamo of your smile caressed the barefoot virgin child to wander past your window with a lantern lit. You held it in the doorway and you cast against the pointed island breeze. It's sensational, dude. I like how almost percussive and meditative the breathe in, you breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And there's such a charisma to the vocal performance. But I think this is it's him literally talking about the wonderment of a child in the world around them, or it could be another experience of like a younger person that he's with, kind of walking them through that situation. I'm not sure how to describe it. I need more time figuring this out. All I know is that whoever it is that they're talking about, they're beside them throughout all their trials and tribulations and experiences because they want to spend that time together. So we'll get that up on the screen there. No, this album is distinct in its sound. This album was recorded like a jazz session. Nothing was rehearsed. So let's talk about that. I think the free-flowing nature and how just freeform it is works really well. It's like spoken poetry. It's melodic. Van Morrison can clearly sing. I love the coloration of his voice. I like the texturing, timbre. I like the grittiness, some of the vocal fry, etc. It sounds like a live recording. It's very, very easy to listen to. There are some parts where it builds and becomes very dramatic, and it's enhanced by the experience that you have with the other instruments within the arrangement. But I think that it's just so almost therapeutic and interesting because it's not tied to the meter of a tempo or something like that. When you just listen to that, like you can tell he's pouring his heart out onto that microphone and it's so believable. You know, you just get lost in it, you know. His vocals were often recorded in single long takes with very little editing. I'm not surprised by that. I mean, the guy can clearly sing. I got nothing but love for people who just know what they're doing and perform well. And the thing is that it'll sound like a live performance if it's not overproduced, especially back in the 70s when this was recorded. It doesn't surprise me that it was recorded in 2 evenings. From personal experience, not that I'm anywhere near Van Morrison's state, but like I've worked with musicians who are able to sort of freeform tracks within a few hours, like all of the individual components and parts. And it's a beautiful thing when you turn your brain off and you try not to sort of overcomplicate the environment. I imagine for Van Morrison, once he had the vocals handled, for him, it was a case of kind of then getting everything else settled. And I think it's just a wonderful use of that 5 minutes with like all the countless instruments doing the world building around him. To be fair, I could have listened to Van Morrison tell the story without it, but it's nonetheless elevated because of the additional ingredients. The thing I want to talk about, see, that blows my mind that he was 23 years old. I can't fathom that he was 23. But then also, there was a lot of competition back then for music, so you needed to be talented in order to be efficient, and he was a massive musician back then, so just incredibly talented, and knew the right people, I suppose. The panning decisions made within this album, within this track specifically, are fascinating. I really like how things are spread around a stereo field. I'm unsure of how they did the panning initially, because I know there was a period in the mid 20th century where we hadn't really figured out stereo recording yet, so a lot of stuff was recorded in mono. So I'm wondering if they literally had the different mono tracks and they placed them at different points of the stereo field to give, like to kind of give you the depth. There are some parts which I'll, like the finger-styled nylon guitar, that this looks like it's my left side. It's actually my right side. there's a very loud nylon string guitar on the right side through headphones. I'm not a fan of how loud that is in comparison to the rest of it. Apparently, this is a 1999 remaster, and I'm not sure why they would not have heard that that was dominant, whether unless it was Van Morrison specifically wanting that to be that loud. But there's these different guitar takes that are incredibly wistful and complicated with the arpeggios. We're not just playing major and minor chords, there's extensions and dominant seventh chords and other sort of interesting harmonies there that take place, and they layer on top of each other in a way that's very sophisticated and textured and evokes a sense of kind of an exotic kind of nature to it, but also a day in the life at the same time. I'm not sure how to describe it. The double bass that we have in there, I think, is, I mean, it's played well. But there's not so much a focus on the meter or the tempo of it because we're going up and down depending on how Van Morrison goes, because it's very sort of free form and through composed. And I feel like it's raw and almost sort of regal in its approach. The double bass is frenetic at parts and other points very supportive, but the throatiness of this tone remains present in the mix, and I like how it explores the relevant key chord progressions and articulates and more than just the bass notes. I like how it explores a little bit and how it has flexibility to keep in time with everything else. It's kind of chaotic at certain points harmonically, if I'm honest with this track. Not in a way where I feel like it's written badly. It's more sort of like some melodies are kind of wandering a little bit on one side and the other part on another side. And it just, they kind of come together happily, you know. Thankfully, they come together at parts and sort of like resolve. But like that's the mastery of these instruments on display here, as well as the chemistry and awareness of people with their surroundings, is that you can't get away with not being aware of that. You need to be sort of aware of how people are behaving around you and what they're trying to do with their instruments. You know, if you're improvising, you need to be able to go back to what people are doing and make it make sense. The woodwinds are kind of pretty sounding, and I think that they had a kind of a magical sort of like fantasy layering to it that kind of harkens back to maybe some of the sort of the stuff they're talking about inside the story. It kind of it helps you to further imagine it, adds a sweetness in the upper layer about it. Oh, I just had a poster fall down behind the green screen. I got a bit of a fright. I think that it's great to have that upper layer carried, especially with an absence of things in the stereo field sometimes in the center because of a lack of vocals. For that to kind of flutter in and do its own thing, and it's kind of, I don't know if it's necessarily relevant to discuss, you know, meterings of like rhythms, eighths and quarters and triplets and sixteenths, because it was so sort of organic, and like the tremolo picking is just kind of magical and how that kind of like harmonizes with other elements there. Never wonder why. In fact, does the kind of flute or the kind of clarinet or whatever it is come in on the left side occasionally as well? Like, I think I'd need time to sort of really sort of figure out how things are placed. There might be multiple woodwind takes. Yeah, I think that's my main point of contention from the production perspective, which we'll get into in a moment, is that the guitars there sound louder than the flutes do. But that's, you already know what I mean by that. That's a sort of constructive critique, I suppose, from a production perspective. That outside of the you know, subjectivity there, everything else though, the journey we go through of Van Morrison is distinct and unique, and it's a very tight performance despite how loose it is in sections. Like they clearly had a direction of where they were going, could adapt to the conditions, and it was fantastic to listen to. Yeah. But yeah, it's cool. And credit thematically, it's major leaning with a quiet optimism through the extensions, but it's very kind of subtle. When things flourish near the end and crescendo, you kind of you listen to it and go, okay, yeah, I understand this is meant to be positive, but the extension's complicated and don't make it too straightforward. So I like that there's that kind of harmonic subtlety there. Ultimately, I think there's enough wiggle room with how things overlap for listeners to have a unique experience, especially depending on whether they're listening to it, as G. Harry said, as an album or as a single. From a single perspective, it shows a maturity on Van Morrison's part as a 23-year-old that I was not expecting, just because I don't know him. 23 years old, you don't always get the most sophisticated tunes, but like we have that here for sure. And they're just really talented. So that's the genius of it. It's how our minds wander before we catch ourselves wandering and recenter, just like meditation. Yeah, I think it's meditative. Like the breathe in, breathe out part, definitely. I know there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on with like the hippie movement in the 60s as well. Awesome song. Studio production wise, again, aside from the leveling, I'd maybe want the guitar on the right side just a little bit quieter there, did that kind of nylon string. But aside from that, everything else was just rendered really sweetly in the mix. And I also think maybe we were trying not to do too much with the guitar on the right to maintain a sense of sort of dynamic range within the performance that was akin to a studio environment. The EQing is tight, no weird resonant frequencies. You can hear the room sound, you can hear them playing in the same room. The tones glue well with each other. Nice to know without pumps the bus compression limiting is handled, and the actual vocal recording of Van Morrison was nice and tight. He can clearly sing and he didn't need help in post. It's a testament of its time. It's beautiful, man. So thank you to G. Harry 1988 for sharing this track from Van Morrison, titled Beside You. It's cool to know that we were trying to do something a little bit different there with the jazz stuff. I can't imagine what it would have been like for him at his age. You know, at 23 to have been so successful that he could just afford to kind of record a jazz album like this and do something completely different. But it's like the epitome of knowing when to sort of stop while you're ahead, I suppose. In the sense that if you do too much of the same thing, you'll become jaded, or people will become jaded. So I like that we had that sort of insight to do that thing creatively there and to take risks. Yeah, it was awesome. So we have a song from Jacob next, titled See You Again by Tyler, the Creator. Let's do it. With Carly Uchis.
Okay. You live in my dream state. Relocate my fantasy. I stay in reality. You live in my dream state. Anytime I count shit.
Oh, I love that synth pad.
That's the only time we make up. You exist behind my eyelids. No, I don't wanna wake up. 20 vision. Cupid hit me with precision. I wonder if you look both ways when you cross my mind. I said I'm sick of chasing.
Pull that out of way, dude.
Always running through my daydream. I can only see your face when I close my eyes.
Can I get a kiss? And can you make it last forever? I said I'm about to go to war, and I don't know if I'ma see you again. Can I get a kiss? And can you make it last forever? I said I'm about to go to war, and I don't know if I'ma see you again.
Switch it up. I said, okay, my infatuation it translating to another form of what you call it. Oh yeah, I ain't met you, I've been looking, stopped the waiting for, I stopped the chasing like an alcoholic. You don't understand me, what the fuck do you mean? It's them rose to the cheeks, yeah, it's them dirt colored eyes. Sugar, honey, iced tea, bumblebee on the scene. Yeah, I give up my bakery to have a piece of your pie. Ugh. 20 vision.
Damn.
Cupid hit me with precision. I wonder if you look both ways when you cross my mind. I said I'm sick of chasing. You're the one that's always running through my daydream. I can only see your face when I close my eyes. So
Can I get a kiss? And can you make it last forever?
It's interesting to have an 808 that's replacing a kick.
I don't know if I'ma see you again. Can I get a kiss? And can you make it last forever? I said I'm about to go to war, and
Oh, interesting chord at the end there. Charming. Fantastic.
Okay, 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 okay.
Beautiful song. So that was See You Again, featuring Kali Uchis, requested by Jacob. This is great beats production for Tyler. I love the entire production so much. I understand what you're getting at there, what do we think this track is about? Because we will talk about the production. You live in my dream state, relocate my fantasy, I stay in reality. You live in my dream state. Anytime I count sheep, that's the only time we wake up. Just it's such a kind of it's like a love song, but it's got a bit of kind of edge to it with the bakery, the piece of pie part. It's nice to have the female male perspective between Carly and Tyler as well. I think that's really effective. There's various voicings of it. There's some rapped sort of sung components there. Tyler actually has a really pleasant sort of clean vocal sort of like voice. I like the way he's got the kind of breathiness of it. He's very comfortable in his head voice or his mid range, and then his bass is really satisfying as well. And I noticed that he kind of panned himself slightly to the left with his higher parts, and then like his lows come in the other side, and his kind of 808s come in at the side as well. They're the kind of A and B side. It's interesting because it's asymmetrical. You're kind of wondering why it is done like that, and then you go, oh, I get it. So it's basically like Tyler is leading you by the nose the entire time. The flow of the rapped components are really effective, as well as very clearly very comfortable on the mic. He not only knows how to articulate and harmonize with the clean parts, he knows how to sort of like work various rhythms and meters into a track where there are some sort of unconventional sort of textures and patterns, but it still sounds it sounds really cool. And I mean, Carly's vocals are tremendous, distinct tone to them as well. There's a sense of innocence and kind of like vitality from it that's very fresh sounding in part, not just because of the production, but also the way that Carly is singing there. And I like the cool responses between them, as well as how the other instruments interact with the vocals and to elevate them further as well. So just ultimately, like a lot of really cool elements for like a vocal focus track on the mic. But there's also some other cool things going on within this track, which practically, at 3 minutes is just full of life and vigor and spice. A shout out to the really cool, like the really cute sort of trumpet and sort of like that kind of squarish kind of bouncy gamey synth that they have near the end. The wow wow. I love the flow of that, the envelope with the attack that goes wow. I just like the rounded nature of that. It's very pretty sounding. And it's a playfulness there that kind of betrays maybe the seriousness of the situation. They just sounded like they're having a lot of fun with it. And the okay part where he kind of comes back to it later on, immediately there's like a polish to the production. I said production a lot, a polish to it, just having that kind of catchy rhythm to it. But he goes into his upper range immediately after that, so you kind of led away from what you thought was going to happen there. And this entire track is again being led by the nose. And there's this like really pretty piano accompaniment that's got a balladesque format, playing not just majors and minors, but also extensions and playing a bit with chromatics a little bit. The strings coming in to further enhance the upper range and add a bit more kind of vintage, kind of like romanticism or fantasy to it. Well, those are synth pads, aren't they? With the 808s coming in the low end to kind of bounce around a little bit and fill out the stereo field, like the frequency spectrum there. And the basses work, the 808s, should I say, work really well within this track because we not only have them as like a lower end device, they're filling it out, kind of giving us a low end, but they also are a substitute for the kicks in certain parts. And it's a kind of interesting because you have some sort of like marching kind of like snare drums at some point. To not have a kind of clicky kick there, to just kind of have things bouncing or rolling around there is just almost like an orchestral drum, I suppose, to a certain extent. And, being able to sort of like stop the track at that point up and allow things to kind of float for a bit is kind of sweet because it shows the awareness of having whole notish kind of rhythmic elements there kind of continuing and being abrupt. It's like a palate cleanser for the next chapter. And you have Carly come in at some parts alongside Tyler for a bit of extra oomph or emphasis on certain words. And you have that kind of push and pull again with the meter or cadence of it. And you have these kind of quiet little claps as like a sub-percussive device there. And there's a 16th note flow that they have there with on-beat and syncopated accents and ghost notes. And it's like again, it's just a different type of percussion there. We're not just relying on a traditional drum kit or even sort of like a beat machine there. We're exploring textures and sounds that make a track sound more distinct.
Sugar, honey, iced tea, bumblebee on the scene. Yeah, I give up my bacon.
And I think actually there are a lot of different drum kits on like a lot of the drum plugins I have. And these are, I think the talent of production or like sort of like beat making is being able to use those alternative sort of tones and textures to make tracks that sound just as cool as when you use the save options.
With precision, I wonder if you look both ways when you cross my mind.
And you got the little kind of like bells or the tingles for a little bit of kind of, again, it's very cute sounding. It's a kind of a goodness or inherent sort of like positivity about it. It shimmers and shines there alongside the resonance of the vocals in the upper range.
I said I'm sick of
And so by the time you get those like trumpets come in, it's like, oh, I've had so much already. And now I've got this kind of regal kind of like, when we talk about going to war, it kind of sounds like a military brass there, like people signing off.
you're the one.
I said I'm about to go to war.
You have that la 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 kind of like, it was Tyler at the start, but now Tyler and Carly Uchis are, yeah, just checking on that poster, which is kind of fallen down. You have Tyler and Carly at the end together, as opposed to Tyler just at the start. You know, they're together now. That's the symbolism there, as I understand it, one more time. And they just want to do that journey again. And you're left kind of with an understanding of the connection they have, whilst also still being curious to know more. So instrumentally captivating. I think the song thematically, the purpose of it, instrumentally, how it works with what we're discussing with the subject matter, kind of more revolves around this sort of like tone style aesthetic that we're going for, as opposed to trying to elicit that mood through the chord progressions, you know, like the extended chords, the majors and minors there, the chromatic shifts there. We're not trying to incur a feeling of discomfort. It's the sound of things that give the mood, like the brighter elements, like the brass, or again the bells or the 808s being more sort of like a kind of a, hey, look, I'm giving you a bit of what you might expect from this kind of genre with the 808s, or you know, the synth pads being kind of quirky and kind of fun, and just finding different ways of producing different instruments, again like the 808s and the claps of the sub layers. It's just finding different sounds to make a distinct piece. I was also providing a sort of a major kind of like extended kind of like feeling that it kind of matches the feeling that they're happy that they have each other in their lives, but also the kind of sadness or maybe melancholy that they know that things weren't necessarily going to work out after all. The studio recording, mixing, and mastering is fantastic. I have to admire the ability to get the 808 sounding that clean and that low end there. To just kind of notch things that well is really effective. It's very difficult to get that kind of polish to it. But then at the same time, I can understand the production decisions as well. I think half of what makes it possible for Tyler to do this is just a selection of really, there's a sensible decision of instruments. So, for example, having a vocalist that's accompanying him in a different sort of range so that they notch easily within the different octaves. You know, like having the higher pads or the bells that have no low end whatsoever, so therefore the 808 can kind of be underneath it. Having a lot of things kind of filtered so that they don't have low end, so that the bass can go underneath it. And again, having the sub layer claps as a quieter element there, but kind of going around a stereo field, as well as some of the synth pad elements there, to sort of give space to things, to Tyler and everyone else. The double tracking for extra oomph on certain parts there. It's just knowing when to add things. So 50-50 on the composition and production in terms of the success of the track, in terms of how it sounds. No weird resonant frequencies are nice and loud without pumping to the bus. Compression limiting is handled. There is dynamic range, but it's more sort of compositional than relying on production because things are well glued. And yeah, honestly, even if there are sort of effects changes on the vocals, they sound fantastic and they clearly know what they're doing in post. You got the characterization or affectation you needed from the different people involved, and it was just really cool to listen to. So thank you to Jacob for putting through that track from an axe named Tyler the Creator, titled See You Again. Yeah, I mean, it's got 2.7 billion plays. What more can you want? Honestly. I don't mean to sound like I'm being dismissive, by the way, when I say that I understand. Like, it makes sense from a composition perspective why it sounds so good. It's just, you know, I can hear on these headphones like what we've been doing with like the filtering of the high and low passes and stuff like that. Just sensible decisions, just sensible stuff. I think that he's playing with some really nice toys as well, though, and it also helps that you got phenomenally talented musicians alongside yourself to work with. So we've got this track from a Happy Man Jacob. The song, if I go to deepal.com to just sort of translate this, this is from Deca Joins. What have we got? Bathroom. Discovered this band through this year's Eve Music Fest a few days ago. Such a blessing. Awesome. So this song's called Bathroom, apparently. Let's do it. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I'm gonna add these tracks to the playlist so that I remember to do it. Because I've been no. I mean, I like the song, but no. How do I do this? Oi. There you go, you silly little goose. There we go. We add that here. Awesome. Let's try that again. Sorry about that, guys. I just want to make sure I add all the tracks. Here we go. It's very dreamy with those guitar lines on the sides. Ooh, tension there. Nice use of a natural harmonic there. It's wistful, isn't it? I like that even though we have these instrumental breaks, we don't use it as an excuse to go wild on the other ones. Outside of the vocals, you know. fascinating. Ooh. Now that's cool. That's cool. I like that a lot. I thought that was really nice. So that was Deca Joins with the track Bathroom, requested by Happy Man Jacob. The repeating lyric is, when I finally forgot you, you appeared in my dream. That is hashtag relatable, if I'm honest. You know, when you do miss that person and they come back to you, it's like, why did I even why didn't I even remember you? Off of this album here with I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure what that is. It's got like little strings. Is it like a thing to sew with or something like that? I'm not sure. But either way, I could be tripping a little bit. What do we think this track is about outside of what Happy Man Jacob has mentioned? So when I finally forgot you, you appeared in my dream, and the song is titled Bathroom. So I'm going to assume that it's something related to maybe meeting someone at the party, or like, you know, someone who like you chanced upon at one point and then like they meant something to you later on. I think that's basically effectively what it is. On a subconscious level, they meant more than you realized. That there's an inherently dreamy sort of nature to the way it's sung, and I love listening to it. I think they're so good at what they do. It's so pleasant to listen to a musician, and there's a lot of musicians that are like this that are releasing music nowadays, where it's just such the antithesis of a lot of modern music, where we're really trying to sort of like push forward to try and sort of grab the listeners' head and kind of bash them into their music. Here, we're just kind of sitting there nodding our head and kind of like, it's very soothing. Now, when I listen to this track, if we find the vocals, it's testament to the vocals that they're hard to find, aren't they? So there, we've got the vocalists by themselves, and they're filtered so that they're kind of ghostly in the mix. We do have the extra low-end resonance later on there of an additional vocal take, and that adds a nice bit of body to the piece, which I think is really cool. But it's like, it's a situation where you hear it and you think, okay, how do I describe this? It's like we've had a realization at that point. Maybe we are like, oh, that's what it was. And so you go through this journey hearing these different thoughts, and maybe the music, the different guitar solos and instrumental parts, the breaks are the thoughts that we're having, those moments of pause, and we're dreaming and coming back to it. And then that final voicing is like, hey, no, this is definitively it. We have to accept that you're appearing now. This isn't a coincidence. I think something that really happens quite nicely there outside of the vocals, because I feel like, again, we're being introspective there, we're nostalgic, looking back how things used to be, being very gentle with whoever we're communicating to in a way that expressively, fashion-wise, feels very appropriate. You have a structure where it just allows for space to meditate and ponder on it. You have those instrumental breaks with a mixture of different guitar, bass, and drum takes. And it's a very slow song. You have occasional roughs and rolls and bits of kind of like fermentation with the drums. The bass line kind of peps up a little bit occasionally, but is mostly supportive of what the root notes of the harmony are doing. The guitars have some interesting sort of like main riffs and some sort of zazzy kind of upper register parts occasionally for a bit of spice and pizzazz. And we do have this kind of chorusy kind of tone with reverb delay tails there that makes it seem sort of ethereal. There's just such an amount of dynamic range to the guitar riffs, though. Like they've got such an amount of body and life to them. Like at the end where things really build, it's not just because there's different vocal takes. It's because the guitars literally get louder. They're just playing their guitars more quietly for the vast majority of the piece because the thoughts hadn't come to the surface yet. And you can hear those really interesting, delicate arpeggios in the background that are almost, it's kind of, I mean this in a positive way, like elevator music. It's almost like intermission music where we're kind of sitting there waiting for something to occur. And you can kind of imagine those notes swirling around in your head. I mean, like when we have those lead parts come in, such as in that part there, it's a transitional device after a pause, a moment for respite. And it introduces you to an alternate lead that kind of simmers in the mix, and it's got a little bit of personality to it, but it never tries to rise up too much. Even there, like it's got this kind of warble and kind of tremolo to it there, where it kind of like flourishes in the amalgam of the piece. But to be fair to the bass player, when I'm listening back to this, and this is the benefit of having more than one listen to a track. And I remember a few years ago, I was a real piece of crap because I had at one point I was just being an arrogant little shit, and I was like, oh no, you need to be able to get everything on the first listen for a song to be good, which is inherently false. This is the beauty of growing up and becoming wiser to an extent, is that you learn, no, you have different experiences with a track on the first and second listen. Which is like why I like songs like these, is that because you've heard a lot of things, you process the rest of them. But it's because of these sub layers and quieter guitar elements there that they kind of, you go deeper and you interact with them. And yeah, they walk around the minor scales and major scales, and they're very pleasant. But the swing of the drums kind of makes it seem a bit more sort of like playful than that. So you're not really sure how to take it. It's very melancholy. But it does kind of sound like you're alone in your room trying to figure out what the hell went wrong, a little bit to a certain extent, trying to figure out how to cope with these memories and what you're dreaming about. It's fascinating, but thematically, the feeling of sadness you get throughout it kind of, especially with things sparking up occasionally, like the bass or the guitars or the drums, which I suppose would be the thought processes or the main sort of dominant kind of actions or pushes or pulls that you're going through psychologically through those dreams. Thematically, it's more kind of minor oriented with occasional extensions. And if there are major turns, it's just the lack of a dominant, precise high end in the arrangement with the tempering of things because of the reverbs and kind of mistier elements. It does kind of sound like dreamy like and kind of like we just don't want to get too excited. And again, it's that kind of decision to make it a bit less kind of like attention grabby and more of an inviting you into a warm cozy blanket kind of scenario that I feel this track is inherently effective. It's like anti-catchy, I suppose. Like there's a purpose and a sensibility to what's going on with the repeated line that Happy Man Jacob mentioned. But ultimately, you hear this and you can't really complain about it. You know the brand of personality it's putting forward. If you understand the language, you get a bit more kind of context. And just ultimately, yeah. You come in to listen to their truth and you leave understanding them better and wondering how it applies to yourself. It's a really sort of sensible, kind of like solid instrumental performance without a note out of place. The studio recording, mixing, and mastering is sensational on this as well. I like the dynamic range to this. I like the differences between the quiet and the loud notes. I feel like if you were to push things too much, it would become a bit robotic and kind of lose its humanity to a certain extent. I think that's the least of what we need right now. I feel like we need music to be able to sound more like a live performance in order for us to know it's real. Like, for example, with AI music, a lot of it is the same sort of loudness. It doesn't have a concept of when to be quiet and when to be loud at the stage, which is a godsend. So having a track sound like a live performance is like one of the last kind of bastions we have in a lot of respects, you know. Just that kind of like life to it and vitality is despite how kind of depressing it is occasionally, it's still beautiful. It's a beautiful piece. I'm glad I had the chance to listen to it. Things surround you in the stereo field as well as there's no weird resonances in the frequency spectrum. Nice and loud without pumping, so bus compression and limiting is handled. The glowing is done well without overcompressing, and the vocals, again, they have some reverb delay, reverb tails, and they're a bit kind of misty and ghosty sound, as I mentioned, but when you get the lower range come in with the bass response, it's just so soothing and well-rounded and worth the wait. So, thank you to Happy Man Jacob for that, for sending that track through from Decker Joins Tuttle Bathroom, if I'm not mistaken. I got that translation from DeepL, so I apologize if you think I'm being funny about it. I'm not. I'm just rolling with what I can get. So next, we have a song here. Hey, Peeping Tom 233, Happy New Year to you too. We are going to be checking out Peeping Tom's new track. Again, a gentle reminder that that's not, if your actual name is different, it's just it's just YouTube showing me the usernames as opposed to what's What's your channel's name, bud? I gotta find it. I just want to make sure I've got the right one. You might have sent it through via the Ko-fi thing, but I'm not sure. But yeah, we've got 2 more tracks after this. And then we will chill, I suppose. Because I'll be going to go for a walk. What do you guys got on for the weekend? You guys got anything exciting going on? Hopefully you do. Oh, okay. Hey, it does work. Nice. I love my AI girlfriend. The rest of the world hates me. It's all good, man. It's all good. We're gonna find Kira. Kira. Is it here? Hey, there we go. Found it. Nice. So this is Peeping Tom's track titled Kira. Let's do it. Thank you for the request.
Kira. Why you taking pictures of your cat in the middle of the night? Leave them alone. Kira. I can't hear you. Why you taking pictures of your cat in the middle of the night? Kira, I can't hear you. Kira, I can't hear you. Why you taking pictures of your cat in the middle of the night? Why you taking pictures of your cat? Leave your cat alone. Kira.
How do you come across these animations?
Kira, I can't hear you. Why you taking pictures of your cat in the middle of the night? Why you taking pictures of your cat? Why you taking pictures of your cat? Kira, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Excellent. That was Kira, man. That was Kira from Peeping Tom. I like this. It's a nice sort of sensible short track. And I like the bounciness of the rhythm of the flow of the vocals. I like that we're talking about, questioning someone about taking pictures of their cat. I'm going to presume it's like a literal cat in the middle of the night because it's just a fun thing to make a song about.
Why are you taking pictures of your cat?
It's interesting panning of the vocals. Like, when you recorded this, did you mean to have the vocals on one side of the stereo field? Because I can hear it on my right side. I know for this looks like the left for you guys. I can hear it on the right.
In the middle of the night, leave them alone. Kira, I can't hear you. Why you taking pictures of your cat in the middle of the night? Kira, I can't hear you. Kira, I can't hear you. Why you?
See, I like the rhythmic flow of it. It's fun because you're paying attention to what the instrumental parts around you are doing. I think it's just so good to be aware of that because if it had been sort of disconnected from that or syncopated, it just might have been a little bit too complicated.
Why you taking pictures of your cat in the middle of the night?
Because you got this wonderful kind of like this chord note flow to it, kind of like a dance track, and it's and the dramatic stabs there are like, oh, what's actually going to happen here? Like, what's happening? What are we in trouble? It's like a sense of danger that I think makes sense considering the subject matter. And there's this kind of bomb kind of synth in the background that's asking questions. It's like undecided in terms of how it wants to harmonically resolve.
I can't hear you. Why you taking pictures of your cat in the middle of the night? Kira.
And it's nice to have that additional kind of oomph with the kicks and claps and stuff, and to not have like a traditional sort of snare tone there, kind of to make it sort of more sort of trap and hip hoppy, considering the style of vocals that we're going for. It's just got a nice little bit of additional pep to it.
Kira, I can't hear you. Kira, I can't hear you.
And it's like, because the vocals are panned to the right side, you have that synth bomb on the left side, and it's got more presence because of that. So yeah, honestly, the feedback is positive with this one.
Why you taking pictures of your cat? Leave your cat alone. Kira.
I mean, like, I feel like it being a minute is good as well, because I feel like we got a lot of the context we needed to from this without over explaining it. I think if we tried to make this track 3 minutes, it might have been a little bit too long, might have been a little bit too sort of overdeveloped.
Here, I can't hear you. Why you taking pictures of your cat in the middle of the night? In the middle of the night, why you taking pictures of your cat? Why you taking pictures of your cat? Here,
And how do we finish it?
I can't hear you.
Yeah, no, I can't hear you part is nice because we finished the song like that. And then I suppose we just had the bum 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 on the end, kind of like signing us out there. And it just ends. So yeah, I think that for like a standalone concept asking the question, it makes sense. There's no issues with the way that things sort of work with the bass lines, the sort of the stabs. There's different drum beats or drum grooves depending on the part of the song. Sony Acid Pro used for music creation. Sony Acid Pro. Oh, cool, man. Good. That's awesome. That sounds fun, man. It's nice that you've gotten back into music creation. I'm happy that you've done that. It's nice to see you exploring different ideas. It's really cool. Because I think you took a break off it for a while, eh? But yeah, honestly, like, neat transitions, no issues, nice form factor. The vocals, I get why we panned the vocals the way we did. That makes sense for the other parts. So that's sensible. That's fine. And there is presence of the vocals in the mix as well. Yeah, honestly, it's cool. I like it. Good job, man. I mean, I feel like the vocals could potentially have more prominence or sort of presence in the mix, but then it's also like if we're I think because I remember we spoke about microphones in the past, and we discussed. I think the vocals sound good. It's just, I mean, yeah. What are you recording your vocals through at the moment? Because everything else, I mean, that the vocals sound fine to me. I just feel like they could maybe be like because again they've not got too much low end resonance. I think they might, if we notched some definition into the mid to upper ranges there, they just kind of sit neatly. I think, but it's a very good effort. But thank you for that, Peeping Tom. I appreciate it. I'm glad to hear you're well. That's cool. So that was Peeping Tom with Kira, which I assume was an original. And happy holidays and happy New Year to you too. We've got one more though, one more song for today, and then I think we're done. Who is this by? Your request. One more song from Eat Watermelon, which is K5 Blessing Fumon. So I'm going to go to this here. I don't know who this is. Ah, Blessing Fumon, right. Okay. I get it. So it was K5 Blessing Fumon. I'm glad that we caught that. That's cool. Let's do it. Last track for today, eh? What do we got? Add that to the playlist. This is kind of like a J-pop band or something like that. Nope. We got distortion. Nice.
走上生命线的分岔，是无法预测的动荡，心悬在这里，还无从下笔。在那参天大树阴影下，像只蝼蚁却有着牵挂，多么渺小，多么无力。苦难的种子被深深埋下，生命在黑暗中萌芽，就放声哭了吧，好吗？每一朵花都在为我们漫舞，手轻放在地上，逐渐的填满你苦涩的疤痕，治愈了空洞的世界。
I mean, the guitar solo is very present here. I love how the lead danced across the kind of punchy drum kit there. Okay, Charmings. So that was Blessing by Fumon off of the album here with the art on the screen. I feel like this has been a better day. Just before I close up, because I think this is the last review, I think, even though I still want to sort of like work on being more succinct with my feedback on these tracks, I feel like I've been more onto it today. So this is nice. I think having like a coffee during the sessions is a smart idea. So I'll continue to do that as of next week onwards and hopefully be a bit more proficient as we kind of, establish, like a consistency there. So Blessing by Fumon, it has this, I'm not sure what it's about. There aren't any lyrics for it, and I'm not familiar enough with the language to kind of get an impression of it, but I gather or assume that it would be about someone looking at maybe the happiness or the benefit they get from something, like from either a higher power or something they do in their life. There's this kind of ethereal kind of feel to some elements with like kind of higher registers, especially with the leads and stuff like that, where it kind of seems like we're kind of soaring or ascending. So I think that's kind of neat. You got this kind of like, we'll talk about the vocals. So the vocals here have this kind of like breathy kind of tone that's very pleasant to listen to. The guy's very comfortable in their vocal range. When there is a bit of fry, it makes sense considering the subject, like the genre of music that we're working with, that kind of industrial kind of new metal-ish kind of feel to it. And but we still have these kind of cleaner vocal styles which like contrast neatly texturally with what's going on with those distorted guitar tones. And we're very kind of we explore our range well and harmonize neatly with the instrumental components around us. And it works well. There's kind of a poppy kind of feeling to the track, which I think has become more prominent in especially the 2020s. But it was I think in the 2000s and 2010s as well. It's more nowadays is more prominent, And again, that vocal fry that we have there is just so gritty, and it adds a bit of kind of it's just that bit of force to connect it to those distorted guitars, bass and drums. Structurally, at 3 minutes 10, I think that it's a great use of time. There's no filler within it. We have a variety of different guitar, bass, and drum components with verses and choruses, and I think we have that solo section as well there, which is wonderfully voiced there. And there's a lot of presence of the guitar in the mix within this. So there's actually some interesting production decisions as well that are commendable, I suppose, to an extent, primarily because it's just nice to have a kind of an extra bit of punchiness there. So to incorporate some of the electronic production techniques into metal. Especially when it's not like a whole bunch of kicks. Like when you have like occasional kicks or like a halftime groove, there's room for the kick, that pulsing to kind of breathe, if that makes sense. But I kind of think that the electronic elements we have here kind of signal that we're maybe off onto an adventure in a spaceship somewhere. It makes it seem more futuristic and current. The guitar takes are a bit softer in that part and more sort of like complicated with the nuance of the harmonies there. And even though we're kind of sticking with more sort of transparent triads for a lot of it and predictable bass lines and chord progressions, you know, like it's not like that's a controversial, unexpected chord progression in the chorus part. Just having that heaviness in that section there is just to try and test a really effective way at kind of maintaining the intensity there. And I like the softness of that lead guitar tone as well. I think that's a blessing. Excuse the book fun. It's just nice to know when you can have those alternate leads and kind of like have the quiet textures to kind of like signal us out. And the drums are fantastic. So we're comfortable with our kick, snare, and hi-hat patterns, but we also have these sort of double kick patterns and drum fills that kind of are fast and kind of finicky, and they are kind of like a bit of tension before the release, I suppose, the way to explore that. And with that kind of a sort of a more kind of bombastic way of approaching the drum production there, the guitar is left to kind of sidechain with that, but it does so effortlessly. The position in the high range of the frequency spectrum. 12 block. Smiles us. Welcome to the live stream, hopefully you're well. What do I want to say here? Oh, I love that sizzle there, the way it ends, though. It's fantastic. Again, like, I feel like there's a lot... They're trying to branch the position of the more sort of, like, new metal-oriented people who like that kind of more poppy metal with people who maybe like the vocalists and that kind of boy band aesthetic there. They branch it well here. There's even some sort of like Polyphia-esque kind of like riff ideas here where they add some sort of jazzy influences to it. And you just combine all these different elements with a really tight technical performance there, and there's a lot to appreciate. There's the catchy elements for those that need it, and there's a bit of sophistication compositionally for those who want a bit more sort of spice with their soup. Thematically, I think it's more going over the struggle of what they're coping with the minor leanings, but then there's some sort of euphoria that comes from the upper range lead elements there that's really satisfying to hear. So there's diversity there with the different chord progressions and concepts. And then finally, the studio production, recording, mixing, mastering is commercial grade. I mean, I don't mind the pushing of the kicks and the style. I think it's a stylistic decision there to combine again further the electronic sort of metal elements. We're not going for a death, like for a Slayer album recording here. But yeah, you've just got the vocals well captured regardless of what they're doing and where they're at, whether it's the clean or the vocal phrase. You got the guitars, whether they're sort of the clean or sort of metered or fixated ones, or distorted only sides of stereo field, nice and thick. The bass and drums are well metered within the frequency spectrum, nowhere resonant frequencies of stereo field, and the synthetic kind of glitchy elements there are nicely sort of centered in on the upper end of the octave range, whilst also, it's just texturally things niche well. There's not a lot of dynamic range. Hey, do you mind going over my favorite album? I'm actually about to bounce. I'm actually about to go. This is my last track for the day. Elgato Neowave microphone, no compression used, so kind of raw vocals. My internet died earlier. TY lol. Please. I don't know what your favorite album is. You need this. No, I gotta go. I gotta go do some stuff outside of live streams. Though I think the link for the Discord is in the description. So what we'll try and do next weekend is we'll try and do another of these on Saturday. Nah, man, I gotta go for realsies. I don't have time. I'm sorry. I started live streaming like, to be fair, I did a live stream yesterday, and this is like the part 2 because there were a lot of requests yesterday. But I do try and schedule the live streams on YouTube. So if you want to know about those in advance, you go to the Discord or you just subscribe to the channel and you'll get told when I live stream, I think, or you can at least keep an eye on the channel and they'll happen. I don't know. But yeah, just the production on this track is fantastic. Really, really happy with it. And it was great to listen through. So ultimately, that's my review of these tracks today. We went through seven tracks. So I still need to get faster with this stuff. We had Shunxion with Air Supply All Out of Love, as well as Weber 1128 with One Day Gary Moore, G Harry 1988 with Van Morrison Beside You, Jacob Russell God with See You Again from Tyler the Creator's See You Again, Happy Man Jacob with Deca Joins in Bathroom, Peeping Tom 233's track, their original song titled Kira, as well as Blessing with Fumon, I think. Honestly, really great sort of selection of tracks today. I will be back next Saturday, next weekend, to do more of these. So if you would like a song reviewed, please feel free to go check it out. You can also go to the, if I move myself, you can see that. There's a fan request playlist here that you can go check out. If I go back, there's all sorts of songs here. There's like all the songs that we've done on these fan requests, for the vast majority of them anyways. So if you're looking for new music to listen to, there's literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tracks. Right. Okay. Don't Skip Me Pizza. Yeah, right. I get it. It's okay. I'm sorry to hear that your internet died. I get it. That was, yeah. Raw vocals are good. Raw vocals are fun. There's some microphones where you can get away with having like raw vocals and they sound good, eh? Don't try that with an SM7B though. SM7B without any processing doesn't sound great. I should note. Because I fucking hate my SM7B. But yeah. Go check out the fan request playlist if you want to learn more. I think links in the description for that. If it's not, please let me know and I'll add it. Stay cool, stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next live stream. I feel kind of cringe saying this, but I'll be releasing some videos at some point soon. So these are from independent musicians. So if you want to go check out these musicians and songs of love, that'll be greatly appreciated. I'll catch you next time. Have a fantastic weekend. Spiderhands out. 3, 2,